Hi there, my name is Steve Gerhardt and this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this week's video. This week's video is going to be kind of random. I'm going to be rando on my topics, so I'm just going to talk about two, three things. And the reason for that is because I just celebrated my birthday this weekend, and I had a really good time, and thank you to everyone who wished me well on my birthday. And Brent, again, thank you for the pears. They were delicious. So anyway, so let's get into it. Just got some rando things, got some questions for you that I hope you would like to answer. And yeah, let's get started. So yes, so should I do another Where to Eat for Otakon? For those of you who are not familiar with those batch of videos that I do, I went to Otakon from 2004 to 2017, and then there was about a 5-year gap, and I went back in 2022. During those years, during the first few times I went to Otakon, there was a lot of complaints from people saying stuff about Baltimore, where I live, and that are not kind of true and just kind of hyperbole and exaggeration. And I had tried to say, hey, no, that's not quite what it is, and it was kind of hard to sway people to that. So I was like, oh, well, why don't I just make a couple of videos about Baltimore leading up to Otakon and helping people go, where should I go to eat? Where do I go for the ATM? If I have a prescription, where do I go? How do I get into the city? What's the easiest place to stay? Blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. And so I just started doing these videos. I think the first one was around 2008. I'm not sure. And I just started doing them, and they are a fun thing for me to do. I enjoy doing them. They're not a chore for me, and it's gotten to the point where the segments are pretty standard, where I talk about how to get into the city, how to, like if you're taking the train, if you're driving, if you're flying in, what's the best ways, what's the cheapest ways, what's the most convenient way to go about DC, because DC is not an easy city to move around in. And then, of course, talk about things like what's in the immediate vicinity of the convention center, because the idea is that you don't want to go too far away from the convention center because that eats up time away from the convention, right? So the goal is to get you in an area that will get you out and back to Otakon quickly for whatever your needs may be. So, it's travel, it's about where to stay. It's about safety. I talk about safety. I talk about, crime. I talk about how to deal with certain things, and also to say, hey, it's not really as bad as you think it is. And then, of course, talk about where the food is, where all the food is, hence the title, Where to Eat for Otakon. So I've been doing that for a number of years, and even the only times I didn't do it was, of course, when Otakon was shut down due to pandemic. As I said before, there was a 5-year gap between 2017 and 2022. In those 5 years, of course, there was pandemic, but there were also elements in my life that prevented me from getting to Otakon. So finally in 2022, I got there last year, and with two friends, the three of us went in there, and it's Otakon, my first Otakon in 5 years, and we're all going to have a great time. We get there, and it was a crap show. If you want to see videos about it, you can see it in my, a lot of people made videos about it, about their experiences, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, so to speak. And for me, it wasn't a very good experience, and it was a very disappointing experience, and it was a very unsafe experience. Which is an unusual thing for me to say about a convention. So, hence the question, do I do another Where to Eat for Otakon? Again, I like doing the videos. I enjoy making them. My problem is that Otakon does not appear to be reflective on the mistakes they made in 2022, and I don't see anything to fix them, and that's hence the reason why I've chosen not to go in 2023. I kind of want to give them a year to kind of figure it out, and hopefully that, they kind of come together and go, oh crap, this is what we're doing wrong, let's fix it. So I am hopeful I do want to come back to Otakon. I do. In fact, I was saying to someone last night, I was, I've never done a panel at Otakon. I would love to do a panel at Otakon. But there it is that the problem is I'm not sure, since I've chosen not to go back, because I was so unhappy with what happened in 2022, do I make another video? Because I found myself, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to make this decision pretty quickly, because there's not a whole lot of time between now and when the convention starts, because the videos have a schedule of coming out, because it's more than one. It's usually somewhere between 3 and 4 sometimes. So my question to you out there in Chatland and Otakon and wherever else you might be watching this video from, should I? I'm torn about making the video and rewarding bad behavior, because that's not what I want to do. But on the other hand, I do enjoy doing this, and it's a fun thing for me to do, even if I'm not going to go. I can call a couple buddies who live in the area, and we do the thing, and we can hang out, and that's kind of fun, right? So, do I? I don't know. So, if you could put it in the comments down below, I will be putting a link to this on the Otakon site, just so that the people at Otakon can, or other Otakon goers can go, yeah, go ahead, or no, don't do it, and I'll just kind of do a majority vote and see how I feel about that, and we shall see. All right, so let me know. So speaking of conventions, I want to mention 2 conventions. The first one I want to talk about is Gen Con. Yes, I'm going to Gen Con coming up in a month, and I'm really excited for it. I went a couple years ago, and I had a blast. It just kind of reopened after pandemic, and so there was, as it was explained to me by Brent, who I went with, he said there's normally like a really crap ton, a lot more people there. But it was really not a whole lot to me. Not a whole lot of people. Well, actually, it was, but it was like, it seemed like the size of Otakon. But he said no, there's usually more than that. I'm like, okay. But had a great time. We decided to go again this year. I'm very much looking forward to it. We got our schedule set up. Brent is actually hosting an RPG game that is loosely based on some Ghibli stuff, so that ought to be fun. I might sit in on a little bit of that. It looks like it's going to be shaping up to be a great time. We're gonna go out there, do the thing, and one of the things I'm going to be keeping my eyes out on for is, like, what kind of panel could I do in the future there, and which is kind of part of the mission this time around, because Brett and I are just kind of like, well, wouldn't it be fun if we did something here? So yeah, Gen Con, if you happen to see us there, if you're going to Gen Con as well, if you happen to see us, please come up and say hello and have a chat with us. We might ask you a few questions that are relevant to what we might be doing in the future. Just kind of get your idea what you think of it. So anyway, yeah, please come up, talk to us, say hello, because that's the whole point of a convention, right? Is to meet like-minded people and have a good time. So yes, Gen Con coming up. If you see me, please say hi. All right, second convention. I was talking to Brent about this last night, something I'm a little bit interested in, and because I'm not going to do Otakon, that kind of frees me up to do other things a little bit. And one of the things that I was curious about was Anime USA, a convention local or near to me that Brent has gone to, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to get there, and if I can, maybe do a panel or two. Who knows? So I'm kind of thinking about that. I would love to do that, actually. So who knows? Maybe this week when I ask for the time off, they'll actually say yes, and maybe Anime USA will let me do a panel or two. They will probably be more informational, historical in nature, because that's kind of what Anime USA does. Apparently, they're a non-profit, and they have a huge education component to what they do. So who knows? Maybe we're a good fit, and that would be kind of awesome, wouldn't it? So yes, one convention I'm definitely going to. Another convention, well, we'll see. Again, I'll let you guys know on that. I'm not familiar with Anime USA that much. I know if you've been to Anime USA, why don't you leave some comments down below and keep it clean and let me know what you thought of it. So yeah, let's see what happens. So over the years, I've noticed a little connection between two groups of people. One group, of course, is Otaku like us, and the other group are a group of fans of a band known as Rush, like me. And I've always found it kind of interesting over the years when I meet new people and I talk to them, and sometimes as we talk about anime, it turns into music, J-pop, and it kind of goes into music in general, and we kind of, sometimes someone will start talking about Rush, the band Rush, and of course, for me that clicks, and we have this usually fantastical conversation, and talk about how there's just this weird connection between Rush and anime. To be clear, Rush has never, ever made a song for an anime. Their songs are sometimes used as AMVs, but they are not. That's not what they do. They were a prog rock or progressive rock band starting in the mid '70s and up until a few years ago when Neil Peart, if that name sounds familiar to you, is because he is a god of drumming, and he passed away, cancer, and he was a big part of Rush, and they're no longer a band, of course. So one of the things about Rush is, again, they're a progressive rock band, and to understand prog rock is to understand that prog rock is rock and roll, but it's more expansive in terms of expanding concepts and intellectualism and bringing in new ideas, new equipment, new technology to put forth music that tells a story. A lot of prog rock is doesn't always have lyrics to it, but when you listen to the song, you have the title of the song, and then you listen to it, you can kind of get the story that unfolds, which is something that classical music once did. It told a story just through the music, the art of music, but no lyrics. And so prog rock uses, very, very technical. You find that many prog rock musicians, like in Rush, are very good technical musicians. Every member of Rush is very good at their instruments and very good at what they do, and they're very, very technical. Neil Peart, again, the song that, if you know what Rush is, the song that you know is, of course, Tom Sawyer, with the drum solo by Neil Peart in it. Neil Peart has done so many other magnificent things than Tom Sawyer that it kind of dwarfs Tom Sawyer if you actually look at the catalog of Rush. But that's what Rush is mostly known for. And it's kind of interesting because the topics that they address and the ideas that they address, the concepts that they thrust out there, you can see in anime, and it's kind of interesting. And I don't want to go into a holistical topic of things. I'm actually going to make a Spotify list for you all, just kind of down below, just kind of say, here's a song, this is the anime, some of the anime this song reminds me of. But like, for example, I'll just give one example here. To Your Eternity. Okay, we know what that anime is, right? So it's this entity, this orb that lands on the planet just to see what would happen. And this orb goes from being a rock to being a dog to being a human being, and the experiences that this being has being those things. And it just, and it can't die. It can be killed, but it comes back. It always comes back. It kind of reminds me of Bytor and the Snowdog, very mythical kind of things, very, it's not going to be Hobbit, right? It's like pre-dawn of man, so to speak, when man is like literally just like barely above smashing rocks against each other to make music. So it's just this kind of this idea of an ancient tale, right? And it's a long song. Some of Rush's songs tend to be on the longer side, but it's just this amazing idea of using music as combat and that kind of a thing. But there's this connection where you can totally see this song in this anime, and that's the thing, is that conceptually, people who are open to a lot of different anime are usually have an open mind, which means that prog rock listeners usually have an open mind, and Rush people love a lot of the catalog of Rush. One of the things that does it for people is Neil Peart, because not only was he a god of drumming, and drums, he actually was a very good writer. He wrote a couple books. He wrote most of Rush's lyrics, and some of the earlier stuff of Rush is very much fantasy sci-fi kind of stuff. Like so much isekai, like so much of this music would fit to an isekai. It's not even funny. Some of the more conceptual sci-fi stuff, like 2112, which talks about this strange thing called music. What is it? And the evolution of people enjoying the music, and then there's a rebellion and what happens and that kind of thing. I don't want to spoil it for you in case you want to listen to the song. Again, the album's 2112. So yeah, it's just this kind of interesting thing that people who tend to listen to Rush tend to be open to anime, and people who are enjoy anime, particularly the more conceptual stuff like Gundam, is a lot of isekai, fantasy, some of the more interesting sci-fi, political kind of anime, things like that. Like for example, if you like Fully Cooley and you like the Pillows, you're gonna like Rush. I mean, that's just hands down. So I just wanted to just kind of throw that out there and just say I've always found it kind of interesting whenever I talk to other anime lovers or Rush lovers. There is a very, very decent chance that the other topic's going to show up, right? If I'm talking to a Rush person, someone might talk, and someone usually brings up Evangelion, actually, is what usually starts off the conversation. And if I'm talking to someone who's anime, it usually leads into some type of song for a soundtrack or something. They go, yeah, it would be really great if, they put in Tom Sawyer, or if they put in Train to Bangkok or Red Barchetta on this song. And, just suddenly the conversation takes a whole new wonderful turn. And I just always enjoy those kinds of things. So I just wanted to throw that there was that Rush and anime connection out there. Again, if you guys have something experienced along those lines, let me know about it down below. Keep it clean, of course. But yeah, so I'll make a Spotify list for you guys, and I'll put it up. I'll put it to the list of songs down below, what I think anime kind of reminds me of, and hope you enjoy it. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so I think that's it for this week. Thank you again so much for watching. For those of you who watched the Musui story last week, thank you so much for watching that. Those are a little bit challenging for me because my Japanese is exceedingly bad. But for those of you who got through it and enjoyed it, thank you so much for watching it. But yeah, like I said, going to hopefully a lot of conventions through the end of the year. Like talking about Rush and anime, and let me know what you think I should do about where to eat for Otakon. Let me know down below. So yeah, that's it. And at this point, this is where I'm going to tell you: be safe, keep yourself healthy, because as I'm going to these conventions, I would really like to talk to you. So please come up and talk to me. But in order to do that, you gotta stay healthy, because you need to do that, because I love you guys and I want to talk to you. All right, you have a good week.